beautiful plant people. For those of you that have never met me before, I am Sam, the proud owner of Plant Collector Melbourne, and today we have a video that is hopefully going to be a heart-to-heart from me to you about plant burnout. I'm hoping that some of you will be able to resonate with this or even give you a little bit of insight into what it is and how we can avoid it. So without further ado, let's get into it. Oh my friends, if you have been in the plant hobby, the plant collecting, I am sure that you guys have experienced it, and even if you haven't quite labeled it as plant burnout, maybe this will give you a bit of insight into the past and maybe having certain feelings about plants. And so let's start off with what is plant burnout, and let's take it from just the burnout perspective and think about what is burnout in general. So burnout is a mental, physical, emotional kind of drainage of energy and exhaustion. It can look like that there is less motivation, that there is a lack of joy, and it can actually impact you and the people around you. And now when we think about plants, it is very much the exact same thing, is that not only can it change your, I guess, demeanor, your lifestyle, and how you see things and perceive things, it also will affect your plants. So when I like to think of plant burnout, I like to think of it as that you have actually gone over your certain threshold, whether that is you are doing too much, or that you've had too many plants, or that you simply are just not finding the joy in having plants anymore. And trust me when I say that I have gone through plant burnout so many times in my journey. I started back in 2018, and I have really and truly gone through the dips, the highs, the lows. Sometimes it can be an incredibly long stint, and sometimes it can be quite short, just depending on where I am with my life or what is going on. Really and truly, you can relate this on many aspects of your life, whether that is like career or social burnout and exhaustion, and it absolutely relates to plants as well. So that is what technically plant burnout is. I don't think many people are using it as a term per se, but let me tell you, I have experienced it. And for those of you that may have never experienced it before, or you're currently experiencing it, let's talk about 3 ways that we can try to avoid it or alleviate this plant burnout. All right, so number 1 is only caring for and looking after the amount of plants that are suited to you, your environment, and your lifestyle. And to some people that might be a no-brainer, but I promise you, when you're in the plant hobby, plant collecting, it is so easy to fall into that get a lot of plants really quick mentality, because it's exciting, that you want to like increase your collection, you want all these different plants. But the thing that a lot of people do not realize is that it's unsustainable if you are not taking in consideration your needs and the environment. So let me expand on that. So let's say that you are an individual that is incredibly busy. You have lots on your plate, your career is busy, you see a lot of people, you're social, you have family commitments, you have a partner, all of these things. For those people, they may find more joy in having plants if there is less of them. So that means that there is less maintenance, that they require less time to look after the plant and also care. So on the flip side, if you have an individual that has a lot of time, or they're able to kind of like automate a lot of the plant care or plant taking care of, is that they can have a higher threshold or more plants that they can actually look after. And so to each individual, I would say that it may vary. It just depends on where you're at in your life. For example, if you have a bubba or if you have a fur baby, they take up a lot of your time. So for some people, that may be 5 plants. It might be 10 plants, 20, 30. I think of myself, and I am a crazy busy individual, as you can tell from all of this content, beautiful creation from YouTube and also social media and all the things that PCM and I do. And I would say that the amount that I have in my personal collection is probably around the 50 mark, I'm gonna say. It used to be a lot higher. When it was that high, I found myself incredibly overwhelmed, that the joy of plants was like getting sucked out of me, and that thinking about the maintenance and doing things for the plants actually made me stressed, which if you think about is so counterintuitive because we love these plants. Like, we were attracted to greenery, to growth, to caring for things, and somehow because we are doing too much and our energy is actually getting sucked away from them. So once I started to pull back on the amount of plants that I had in my collection, I found so much more joy. And then I also like to think about all of the beautiful friends that I have made and collectors that have hundreds and hundreds of plants, and it works for them. And I can't sit here and say that everyone should have a small collection, and I can't say that everyone should have a big collection. It is completely and utterly up to you on how many plants you feel is within your threshold. And so you can do that by experimenting what feels like more of a joy compared to when plants start to feel like it's too much. So tip number 1 is to make sure that you are caring for the amount of plants that is suited to you. Next is environment. If you do not have the environment for rare tropical plants, it is going to be so much more stressful. Or if you don't have the environment that the plant like originated from. So for example, if we take a Anthurium splenditum, which is a plant that is used to incredibly high humidity, good airflow, and really and truly should be like a terrarium situation and an enclosed plant. If you are able to give that care or that environment, by all means, that plant is made, it was for you. But if you find that you don't have these environments, the plant is going to stress, which means that you are going to stress. So one of my biggest things is that, one, it has to suit you, like the amount of plants, but it also has to suit your like routine and your regime, your day-to-day life, and also the environment. There is no point in trying to stick a plant that is suited for one environment and your environment's the complete opposite. You are just going to have heartache, you're going to have stress, and you're going to like look at the plant that is struggling and just be like, why are you not working? So that is tip number 1, my friends, is that try not to go outside of your means and really be intentional with your plants by thinking, how many do I need? Does it suit my personal routine and lifestyle? And does it also suit my environment? So tip number 2 is marry Kondoing your collection. And we actually did a video on this several months back. So for you guys that have not seen it, I shall link above. But this term, marry Kondoing, is really and truly enlightening and a game changer when it comes to plants, in my personal opinion. So when I did this, it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders to really figure out and reconnect with my collection and my plants again and say, which one of you do I feel connected to? Which one of you do spark joy? And for those that do not, like, it is time to move on and let go. So that could be like gifting them to friends, that could be like passing them along and selling them along. And for me personally, I do this, let's say about once a year. I would say that for some people it would feel right for them to do it every couple of months, but for me, I like to do it routinely as every year. It's a really cool experience because I get to like reconnect with the plants again, and then it really truly feels like, you know, in your home when you just do a really good cull of clothes or things in your home that is like clutter, and then you are just left with all of the things that spark joy. It's just a really beautiful mentality in my personal opinion. So that is another kind of like tool, or I guess like a trick. No, I wouldn't say it's a trick, but another tool for you to be able to reduce the amount of stress that you have and to avoid plant burnout. And last but certainly not least, we have number 3, which is finding your own personal routine with your plants. So here I'm going to give you guys some little maybe like nuggets of what I would suggest to you, what I found that really works for me. But when I say personal, really and truly, it is one of those things where you have to look at yourself and where you're at and just trying to figure out what your personal routine is. And so what may work for me might not really align with you and your plants. So keep that in mind, but I think it is a really good opportunity to experiment. So when I say finding your groove or your routine with your plants, I think that it is really important. For me personally, it makes plant care, plant maintenance less stressful and that I can actually enjoy it. So for example, here at the store, we are watering currently like once every fortnight, I would say, because it is winter. The store is warm-ish, but they don't necessarily get a lot of light. And I would say that we typically will have one day every fortnight where we do watering. And when I say that, it's not that we water every single plant. It's more of a check-in. And this check-in is to look at the soil, to look at the plants, to pick them up, to see who needs watering, pesticides, and all of these different things. And so this would be a little bit different if it wasn't winter. So for example, if it is in summer, we might water or like do check-ins 3 times a week or twice a week. And I would normally put them on designated days to check in with all of the plants. You can also apply this to your plant routine. Having a watering schedule to me just gives plant care like a bit more structure, and it's not that, again, you're not watering every day, it's just that you're checking in with the plants on specific days. Another one is that when I think of pest management, of course, if you find a breakout, try to do it in like a timely manner. Of course, if you are super busy, I can absolutely relate to that, and you can't always get pests right on the dot of when you see them, but I think that it's a good practice to be able to do it promptly. But in terms of prevention, I think that it is really easy to pencil in my diary of being like, okay, once a month we are doing pest management. And whether that is like spraying all of the plants, whether that is putting like granular, like slow release insecticides, whatever it may be, I know that once a month it is happening, and that way it's not just I do it on a whim, or that maybe I forget it and things like that. So scheduling a preventative is really helpful. So this one I would like to put out there, but also take it with a grain of salt. So this for me has really truly changed how I see plant maintenance. And back in the day, Pa Sam would have big days, whether that is like repotting, making poles, propagating, all of these things, but it would be, I guess, unplanned, and that I would do it in one day. And one thing that I've slowly learned is that doing plant chores or plant maintenance is a lot easier when they are done more frequently, but in smaller stints. And what I mean by that is kind of the analogy of like taking steps rather than strides. So it would take up way more energy to, let's say, have a like infrequent long days. So for example, once all of the plant chores kind of like built up and you're kind of like, oh, we've hit the threshold, we need to do something about this, and you just do it all in one day, that is exhausting. Like, you will be doing all these different things. In my personal opinion, it might not be, let's say, as efficient because you are doing so many different things. So whether that is that you have to do repotting, pest management, cutting old leaves, and all of that jazz for maintenance, I do find just doing some of those things in like littler stints a lot more manageable. So instead of like letting things pile up and then doing like a big day of plant chores, it's like more frequent and like less effort because there's less to do. And so that may be a really good solution for some of you to try and avoid plant burnout. But of course, I actually have a lot of individuals that are like close friends that have really big collections that they actually fully enjoy when they have like a big plant chore day. So absolutely, it is completely up to you guys and what you find is really helpful when it comes to enjoying your plants. And I think that the really big key here is making sure that you still find joy in the plants. With all this said and done, if you find that you are experimenting and some things that you try to make for a routine that just don't work for you, or it still continues to like suck out the joy of plants, then that potentially is not meant for you. So I encourage you guys to, of course, experiment, and I would say to follow the joy of plants. If you do things and you still find that there is a joy, go with that. Alrighty, my friends, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, that it was some sort of insight for you to do with more plant burnout. And even if you have experienced it before and you just didn't really quite know what it was or what was causing it, I hope this video provides you with some help and guidance on your journey. If you've been enjoying these kind of like nurturing videos, please do let us know down below in the comments. If you guys have ever experienced plant burnout, let us know what it was like for you. If you guys have any tips for others and how you managed to kind of get out of that plant burnout, I think that that would be incredibly valuable for our beautiful community. I will leave another video that will hopefully be helpful for you guys up above. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye. Mwah.